we're back again. What I'll do is, let's see. Okay, so basically Weebly, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it looks like, to me, W-E-E, for any literacy out there, I'm saying Weebly. They end up coming with these names, and every time it's hard to figure out what to say. It's an online, again, this is my tool of choice. Like, I see that there are many services out there, like there's Blogger, WordPress, Posterous, and they're worthy mentions. But this one in particular appears to be gaining popularity with teachers, at least in the St. John Education Center. And to me, that's made me start to think as to, because it wasn't really one that I used a little bit in the past, a couple of years ago, and they were still kind of in their infancy at that point, and I had switched out for another service. But if teachers are throwing this on their own and they're using it, then I'm thinking, well, the ease of use and the quality of features must be pretty good. So I did take a look at it, and I did a critique, and that critique is actually, we'll be talking about it today, but actually on the blog post that you'll get later on. I wrote a little like 700-word sort of official critique. I'm doing my Masters of Educational Technology, and that was one of the things that I did. And so there's a more formal aspect to it as well. But basically, Weebly offers several different services. One is called Weebly for Education. So that's what we'll be looking at today. Like, you could go in to Weebly and end up signing up for a Weebly account, but there's some advantages to going in and clicking on education and then signing up for a Weebly education account. And again, it provides everything that we'll be looking at today is free. I was pleasantly surprised with what you can get for free on Weebly. I think basically if you're looking at being a novice to an intermediate, basically your level of experience is novice to intermediate. I think this does provide a really solid resource. And it allows you to create a professional looking online presence in a short amount of time. And so Weebly's been around since 2006, and they're an American company, and they're based in San Francisco in California. And they offer web hosting, site creation, and what's called URL registration. So that's a .com. But even though you can do that part of it, they provide you with a pretty good URL for free. Like, for example, mine could be mrbates.weebly.com. So it's a pretty easy one to remember for parents and students. You have to register on their site. But it's quick. I'm pretty sure, from my experience, you just provide your name and your email address and pick your password, and you're going to be set. So I thought what I'd do is bring up Weebly and kind of show you at first. Here's an example of, and I'm assuming everyone is able to see my screen. If you just want to kind of click on yes there, just to let me know. Yeah, okay, great. Okay. Oh, hey, Shah. Great. So what you see is like a little demo site. It took me, I would say, I didn't have all my things kind of together, so I'd say it took me about an hour to create this site. Which really isn't bad for not having any, again, real knowledge about the site, just kind of signing up and going through the motions. And I kind of organized this site, and this is linked as well. This demo site is linked on the web hosting. And what I did is I kind of broke it up based on everything I kind of talked about in the first two sessions, talking about reasoning behind having a website, what to put on it. What I wanted to show here was, here's the basics. If you had a site that had this content on it, like broken up navigation-wise, I think that's a really great start. And for some people, you might not ever branch out anything beyond this, but you're providing the basic content that you need, that your audience wants to see, and it's going to make it a valuable site, so they'll keep coming back. So what do we have here? Well, we have our home page, And basically it's in a blog format, and what that is we have an area that our blog posts, like our informational pieces, come up on, and automatically what a blog does is it takes your oldest post and constantly is pushing it down, putting the new content up top. So it's just a scrollable list of articles. Articles, posts are kind of synonymous. And you have what's called a sidebar over here. So we have basically a 2-column site, 1 column here, 1 column here, and we have it in basically, I would say, a 4-row site. So we have a header, our navigation area, an image, and then we have our content area. So again, 2-column layout. That's a pretty standard one. Sometimes you'll see a 3-column, so there'd be one here, your content area, and another sidebar. But I tend to go to this one. And we have our navigation. So up here, what we're seeing is the calendar. That was one of the big features that not only a school site, but a classroom site should have. And this one's integrated with Google Calendar. And I'll be talking about this a little bit more later on. I just want to kind of give you an idea of what the site, a created site, looks like. And we have our helpful links section. And again, these are just dummy links that are in here, but this would be the basic idea that you'd have headings, and under the headings you'd have links to the different websites. You have an area to store documents. These would be links to the provincial curriculum documents on the government's website. These might be forms that I upload, rubrics for projects that are out. There might be descriptions on the steps for the projects and the directions. And there's a contact me section, which would have your name, the school's address, the school phone number, and a little way for them to be able to contact you by email without having to have access to an email program itself. And it's not broadcasting your email as well. That's usually not a good thing to do, having your email typed on a page, because basically if you find you do that, you're going to find your inbox is going to be full of spam eventually, because there's little web bots out there that will try to pick up those email addresses and store them in distribution lists. So a few other things, little things here is Weebly lets you add in if you have any social media sites that you want to share. Like I have my Twitter one here. It ends up putting a little icon, and it's easy to connect it to that. So what I'll do is I'll just go back and get out by clicking the home page. You're seeing here the 2 most recent articles I posted, and I'm just trying to model here that one, what would a post be about? Well, this one is labeled important information. And again, it could include something that's upcoming in the class that you want parents to be aware of. And last week when we looked at some content examples, we looked at a teacher's website and where she had posted, instead of doing daily posts, she would post a summary at the end of the week. So by using these headings, I'd probably, again, every week use the same heading, week in review. And again, every time I want to make a note of something important, I would use this. So keeping consistent headings is a great feature. Also, what your blog or website will do is these headings are now categories. And these categories get stored over here. So if I was a parent and I want to come and see what happens, and all I want to see is the week in reviews, what's been going on the past month. If I click on week on reviews, what it's going to do is it's going to sort all the posts that I've done, no matter what category I labeled them, and just show in reverse chronological order what the week in review posts are. So in 4 posts, that person is going to have a good understanding of what happened for that entire month in my class. Websites will automatically add your posts into archives, and that will be another way for people to navigate your site. By if they know something happened in December of 2012, they can click on that, and they're going to see all the posts for that month. And another thing we talked about that's important to have on your site is a disclaimer. And a lot of the things that I'm showing you right now, we're going to be talking about them today, and then I'm going to show you in detail in session 4 how I went about doing these things. So again, here's a copy of that PDF that I shared last week with you. I'm just scrolling down through my notes to make sure that is something I shared. Yeah, I shared that last week. And it's something that you can copy and paste into your Weebly web page. And then all you have to do is go in, and every place it says your website name, you just put whatever you've called your site in there. And it basically tells people about content, disclaimer, warranties, links to external sites. It just basically is a way to make sure that you're legally covered for anything that might be questionable that happens to your site. So that's a quick look at the demo site. And again, that link's provided for you. If you want to try to model off this one, then it's going to be there for you to kind of click back and forth between this and the one that you're making. Now, what I've done ahead of time is I've went and I logged into Weebly. So there we are. And so I've logged in. There's a listing here of my sites. And I have, right now, I currently have the one. And it's kind of neat. This is called a dashboard. So I could have multiple websites under the teacher account. For some reason right now it's not showing up here, but the reason I suggest Weebly for Education is you have the ability within their free program to have up to 40 blogs off of your teacher site. So if you're looking to get students into blogging, into having their sites, you would end up having them kind of hanging off of, like you would be the parent site and theirs would be the sibling sites off that. So, and it gives you the ability to have control over their sites as well. So if you're thinking of doing some literacy work, or even having them blogging about things that you're doing in math class, explanations and things that they've learned, this is a great avenue to go. And we're not going to be talking about that within this series, but that's something that I could meet with you either in a small group or one-on-one if you've been interested in having students blogging. Okay, so what do I do? So I'm going to show you the basic interface that we'll be using next week. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click Edit, and the page is going to reload. And depending on your connection, this might take a moment or two. But what we're seeing here is we see a real-time preview of our web page, our website that we've created. And what we're seeing up top is the ribbon area. Any of you that worked on your school's SharePoint 2010 sites, this ribbon area you're going to be very familiar with. It looks a little different, but it's the same idea. One of the reasons I like Weebly is because of this ribbon. You don't need to download any software to work on your site. It's all cloud-based, so it's all stored on Weebly servers. Once you've logged in, you're not going to get lost in multiple pages. Everything you need to do to your site are in these 5 tabs here, and by clicking on one of these tabs, it adjusts what happens in this vertical menu. So all the access to all the pieces, all the content, the features is housed in this one area. And you'll see in real time the changes it has on your site down here. So the 5 different areas that we have are the element sections. So those include things like the ability to add text on a page, pictures on a page, pull in a YouTube video. Our blog sidebar, this area over here, we can drag over. If you have a Twitter feed, you can drag that over. If I have, let's see, a picture I want to put like I did over here, I can drag that over into the sidebar. We have some multimedia things that we can do. If I have a photo gallery, I can drag a photo gallery onto my page, a slideshow, upload a file to share, which next week we'll look at. That's something we would be doing in the document section. Again, a Google Map, YouTube, lots of different things that we can be doing, adding online polls. A neat feature here I'd be very interested to try out with a teacher that this is online bookings that you can do for free, and I always was interested in trying that with a parent-teacher, booking that online. So if you're interested in that, give me a call or link me later on. Contact form. So again, I won't be able to in the next 10 minutes kind of go through all of these today, but what we're going to do is pick out the important ones for next week, and I'm going to show you how to get those onto your pages. So elements are the basic design features. Now, clicking on design, the other reason I like Weebly is that it's a template-driven system. So all the look of your site, the colors, fonts, some of the layout, it's all controlled by themes. So everyone's pretty much used themes in some program they've used. If you think about Word, you can open up Word and select from Office Online a theme for maybe a letter, or you've used Publisher and there's themes, templates that you can use to create brochures. Same idea here, that we're looking at website themes or templates, and by clicking on them, it will automatically change the look and the feel of your site, but it leaves the content. Everything you've added, it leaves it alone. Now I'll kind of give you a little demonstration here. So say if I choose, here's a dark theme over here, and if I click on it, my page is going to reload, and now you can see that with the exception of my picture, or sorry, my exception of my content down here, the picture and some of the coloring, the font, and some of the layout of the social buttons and the way the menu is presented, even though the menu still contains all the sections, all the pages that I had before, it has changed. And right now, I could click publish, and that's my website. So changing and getting like a professionally laid out color, a color scheme that's complementary, is as quick as just clicking on these buttons and getting a different design. And we can always go back and change what this image is. Like when I hover over it, you'll see it says edit image. I can upload any image I want. I can search the images that they have online and add one of those. I can hover over this and pick a different color scheme to that theme. So I just click the blue one now. So it loads a blue variation of that theme. So for any of you who, again, I like this, like for example, over Google Sites, just because it gives that level, that nice polished professional look, where Google Sites can do a lot of things that Weebly can do also, but it's much harder to get that look. And you spend and waste a lot of time doing that. So, and again, I think at last count, Weebly had 70 themes. So I think everyone will be able to find either a theme or a variation of that theme that matches your personal style or your personal sense of aesthetic. And again, I'm just going to pop back, and I can go back and pick my theme again that I initially had. And it loads back. This is a picture that I uploaded from actually Microsoft Online. And it remembers what theme I had and where I laid everything out. We can go into design options, and that's where you can go in and you can actually change specific elements. So if you pick a theme, you pick a variation, you can go in and change how big the fonts are, what font family that they're in. If you don't even want to go down that road, just click on the theme and accept it for the way it is. But for those of you, that's why I said that this is a nice site. If you're an intermediate person, it gives you enough things to play around with to keep you excited about your own site. And again, so elements, designs, pages. This is the way that we end up adding pages to our blog. So I would just come here and I would click Add Page. I would name it. I would pick one of 4 page layouts. This one it keeps the image that I think I had color pencils on the other page. It would keep that, or if you don't want an image, you could click on this one. Again, a lot of this is experimentation, but this is kind of the third reason I like it. So I like it because of the ease of use. I like it because of the themes, and I like it because of these page layouts. You don't have to know a lot about design and a lot about best practices. This is kind of guiding you through the process. What they're considering that you're the knowledge expert of is the content you're putting on the site. So we're just helping you kind of move through these tabs to create your site and it will be to standards, and then you're adding the content in. So, next one. And we'll talk about this more next week, because I have a few more minutes. I have to cover some things. But if I want to move things around in my menu, it's as easy as taking these pages I've created, left-clicking and dragging them, and just moving them around in a different order. And some of them, if I don't want them to show, I can click on them, and this little eye with an X through it shows up, and that says that it's hidden. I can copy pages, I can delete pages. Editors, you can invite, this is a great feature for those of you who might be job sharing, or maybe there's a classroom grade level that you want to get together. So there's 3 teachers teaching grade 2. You don't each want to have your own website, because a lot of what you'd be putting up online is kind of repetitive. If you're putting up helpful links, it's probably going to be very similar to the other person. So if you want to collaborate and share a site, this allows you to add editors. So 3 people could share the same site and be able to log in and add content. So I'll throw that out there too. Maybe there's one of you that taking on the design lead with the site is the thing that you want to do. Another person's in charge of another type of content, and everyone is in charge of updating little notes from their own, what's happening in their own classroom in the blog. Just an idea. And the settings page. We'll spend some time on this next week. But basically, this is where we can change things like our site title and do some more, I guess, sophisticated ideas around search engine optimization and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get into that because I don't want people to get too overwhelmed. I know I've gone over a lot in the past 15 minutes or so. Yeah, I do think that, Heidi. I think for a team website, the fact that you could have one main site at the top, and that houses all the general sort of shared content, like the commonalities, and you could have sub-sites off that which are dealing just with the kind of the details of each specific classroom. But I even think you could probably just have one site, and just in each blog post over where you have categories, you just be specific. So we can review for Mr. Bates's class. So you would end up having, if there were 3 teachers on this site, it would be, we can review for so-so, we can review for that person, we can review for person C. So when they click on that we can review for Mr. Bates, they would just see information about my classroom. And again, that's something that we won't be able to probably figure out within, the end of this session and the next. But that's something that you could contact me or Phil or Tim or mentors from the other districts for those of you outside of the St. John Education Center. And we can sit down with you and work this out. So, something I used to post on my site is I just peeled this off of a Scholastic site, Skeleton Creek, great book. Actually combines technology in the storyline with online videos that one of the characters uses. Excellent book. Posting here just a little visual and saying this is this month's read aloud in class, and the idea of adding pictures and stuff to the text to help break it up, make it more visually stimulating. Okay, I'm just looking through my notes. So I've talked about a lot of the upsides, like why do I support or this as being a resource for you. Thanks, Phil. Downsides. Well, all free sites have downsides because most free sites have a paid component. You can't, now there's no advertising on the site, and that's one of the other reasons. Just a friendly name. You'll notice down here on, like, I'll switch back to the public view. There is a little link back to Weebly in the footer, but there's no other advertising on the site. So you're not getting that blogger sort of random next site button. You're not getting any adverts on the page like YouTube, that sort of thing. So I think that's highly, that's acceptable. There's some of the more advanced audio and video tools are in the Pro package, which is a paid package, but there's workarounds for those. You can still insert YouTube videos. You just can't directly upload videos to your blog and have them hosted there. But there are ways that we can get around that using tools like Dropbox. You're limited to 100 megs in your uploads, which I don't think is going to be a huge issue for people. Let's see, the calendar. The calendar is one feature. I'm disappointed they don't have a built-in feature that has a calendar. I think that's an extremely important feature to have on a website, especially when we're talking about teachers. What you do is they provide you with the ability to embed a Google Calendar onto your site. So some of your homework for next week when we start looking at building a site, or if you're thinking about kind of venturing ahead and testing out some of the resources that I'll give you in the post that you've seen today, and go in and experiment, signing up for a Google account, which is a good thing to have anyway, signing up for a Google account is kind of a must, because that's how you're going to access the calendar feature. And we'll take a look at Google Calendar next week. And I have a link to that in the blog post. And if you are thinking, like I have my own URL that I pay for, it says markbates.ca. Weebly offers that they'll sell URLs, but the price is not competitive. It's overinflated, probably 3 times as much as you would pay by going to GoDaddy.com or NetFirms to buy your own. It should cost you no more than $10 a year to have your own .com name. I think they charge like $34. So I guess wrapping it up, as I'm just over time, Weebly, definitely a solid choice. Its key features like being able to add those information points, calendars, news, links, contact info that your audience wants, and the ability to go on and in the future, and you notice in the demo, I didn't have student works section in there, which is an important one, but not necessarily to get your site up and running. That's something that can come with time, and as you feel more confident and familiar in this first process, that's like the next step. And then adding forums and like having student conversation and having conversations with the community. That's kind of the next step. So next week is basically the finale in the series. Yeah, that's right. And, thank you, Heidi. And we've been kind of promoting, and you'll know from, I think it was the last, first session actually, we talked about policy and the link out to the government policy around student images, information online. Making sure that if you have student images up, that you have the appendix signed for 311. Trying to avoid things like, and we'll talk about this next week, try avoiding using student names, individual student shots, more group photos, and being very selective, thinking to yourself, is this something that adds to the content in a productive, like meaningful way, or am I just putting a picture up for a picture's sake? And there's other ways to kind of get at sometimes an event and kind of taking photos from behind, back of heads and things like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more next week, but just making sure that marks, any student data isn't posted online. Now, I do take, that doesn't mean that student works can't go up, but just editing out, being selective again, best work samples, not using names whenever possible, or using initials or codes or things like that. So next week, we're going to look at I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I built that demo site. So we're going to focus on that all next session. So by the end of it, you would see how we got the demo site built from the bottom up. And that should give you, especially with the video, that will give you a great tutorial to refer to as you go out and build your own. So the resources that will be shared on the post, link out to Google Calendar, the demo site, Weebly for Education, so if you want to go ahead and sign up for your account, my critique of the site in a more sort of academic paper, and a website checklist that will allow you to start looking at other people's sites and your own site with a critical eye does it have the components that make for a valid site? And I do reference some sources there as well. Okay, so that's our session for today. I went 5 minutes over. Sorry about that. I'll talk to everyone next week. Have a great day.